So imagine sending your teenager out the front door, into the real world, wearing a literal scannable barcode on their back,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
right? Like a
Eh,
code that links directly to their entire digital life, their gamer tags, their social media profiles, maybe even their geographic location, just their whole carefully curated digital footprint right there for anyone to scan.
It honestly sounds like the opening scene of a dystopian sci-fi movie.
It totally does. But I mean, we aren't talking about science fiction today. We are looking at a brand that is selling exactly that
Yep.
right now. And they're positioning it as like the ultimate athletic status symbol for a whole new generation.
It is a profound shift. I mean, it really changes how we think about the boundary between the physical body and the digital avatar.
Yeah.
Because we've spent, the last 2 decades treating our digital lives as something separate, something trapped behind the glass of our phone screens or our monitors.
Right. Safely tucked away in your pocket.
Exactly.
Hmm.
But the materials we are analyzing in today's deep dive, they show a deliberate engineered effort to just shatter that glass, to let the digital world spill right out onto our physical clothing.
And that is what makes today's stack of Sork materials so utterly fascinating to me. So we're dissecting this modern brand ecosystem called Smart Dream.
Right.
And the internal documents and the public-facing materials they've produced, they represent this massive glaring paradox. I mean, on one side of the desk, we have these slick, high-budget, super high-energy promotional materials for their new drop, the Smart Dream official jersey.
Which is essentially a physical piece of streetwear and esports apparel.
Yeah. And have you seen this new drop? I mean, looking at the visual sources, this jersey is completely breaking the internet right now.
I know. The marketing language attached to it is entirely built around dominance, control, visibility. It's all about announcing your presence to the world, making a massive statement.
Right. But then on the exact same desk, produced by the exact same brand, we have a transcript from their educational YouTube channel. It's called Smart Dream, Smart Vision.
And that transcript is a completely different beast.
Totally different. It's this sobering, incredibly data-heavy, almost panicked lecture about the psychological devastation caused by the digital landscape.
Yeah, they get into severe youth depression, cyberbullying, sleep disruption, and even kidnapping threats.
Which is wild. So it creates this fascinating sociological whiplash for us to unpack.
It really does. You have a brand that's basically functioning as an arms dealer for the digital age,
Wow, yeah.
selling kids the physical armor they need to look like champions in the metaverse, while simultaneously handing their parents a detailed survival guide about how toxic and dangerous that exact same metaverse actually is.
It's crazy. So, okay, let's look at the armor first. Because if you're going to sell a physical garment to a generation that lives predominantly online, the visual language has to be flawless.
Oh, absolutely. It has to pop on a screen.
Right. And looking at the campaign kit, they didn't just design a shirt. They designed a piece of wearable hardware. The primary design features this incredibly aggressive, futuristic cyan to black gradient.
And the color theory there is highly intentional.
Really? How so?
Well, cyan against black is basically the universal color palette of cyberpunk. It instantly communicates like neon lights cutting through the dark web. It screams digital native.
That makes total sense. And then
Yeah.
right in the center of the chest, they've anchored that gradient with this massive 3D effect metallic gold star crest.
Yes, and the words Smart Dream are rendered in this sharp, angular, highly stylized typography.
It looks absolutely fire. I mean, it's clearly designed to read perfectly through a 1080p webcam.
Exactly. It's not meant to look good for the nosebleeds of a football stadium. It's meant to pop in the tiny picture-in-picture window on a Twitch stream.
Right. And they didn't just stop at the cyan version. The visual sources show a secondary variant that is just, it's loud in a completely different way.
The green one, yeah.
Yeah, it features this chaotic green and yellow lightning bolt motif layered over these shattered glass geometric patterns.
And that shattered glass aesthetic, that's a total staple of high-energy esports branding. It conveys kinetic energy, disruption, speed, all those things gamers want to project.
And the back of that green variant reveals the customization engine, which is the best part. I mean, full customization. We see the name AJ Smith plastered across the shoulders, anchored by this massive number 20.
It mimics the traditional physical sports jersey,
Right.
for sure, but it recontextualizes it for a space where AJ Smith might just be a gamer tag.
Right. But I want to focus on the actual physical engineering of this thing for a second, because the technical specs are where the physical and digital blur really starts to happen.
Pro-grade materials.
Exactly. They market this as pro-grade. It's constructed from ultra-lightweight, moisture-wicking micromesh polyester.
Yeah, the specs are surprisingly intense.
They are. They boast about an ergonomic V-neck collar for maximum mobility and double-stitched seams with high-density thread. The pitch is that it's built to withstand high-impact sports, rigorous daily wear, and frequent washing.
Now, the inclusion of high-performance physical athletic specs for a demographic that, let's be honest, largely sits in ergonomic gaming chairs, it might seem kind of ridiculous at first glance.
Yeah, like, why do you need moisture-wicking mesh to play a video game?
Right. But we have to look at the physiology of digital competition, because when a teenager is in the final circle of a high-stakes battle royale game or, competing in a tense esports tournament, their physical exertion might be minimal, but their sympathetic nervous system is fully engaged.
Oh, interesting. So it's like a fight-or-flight response.
Exactly. The brain literally doesn't know the difference between being chased by a physical predator and being targeted by a digital sniper.
Wow. That's intense.
It is. The heart rate spikes to, 160 beats per minute. Cortisol and adrenaline flood the bloodstream, the body temperature rises, and the sweat glands activate.
So whether you're sweating it out in a physical match or grinding in esports or just wearing it as streetwear at a cafe, it stays super cool and light.
Exactly. So that moisture-wicking micromesh isn't just a marketing gimmick borrowed from traditional sports. It is actually a functional requirement for managing the physiological stress response that the digital world triggers.
That reframes the entire concept of high pressure for me. I mean, traditional sports define high pressure by physical load, but the smart dream generation defines high pressure by cognitive and sensory overload.
Yes. And the brand knows exactly how to weaponize that in their marketing copy.
Oh, for sure. The main headline for their website sales page literally reads, "Dominate the game. Own your ambition with the official Smart Dream custom jersey."
Dominate and own. I mean, we are looking at heavy psychological power words.
Definitely. And the copy goes even deeper. It says, every legend begins with a vision, a drive to push beyond limits, to break boundaries, and to conquer the impossible. The Smart Dream jersey was not just created to be worn, it was built to empower.
They were selling a physical shortcut to a psychological state.
It really feels like they are selling an origin story. They explicitly state the jersey gives you the, quote, identity of a champion.
Which is huge for this audience.
Right, because in a digital ocean where millions of young people feel completely anonymous, just voiceless and drowning in algorithms, this brand is handing them a physical life raft and saying, put this on and you are a conqueror.
And notice the multi-purpose targeting there. They identify that the modern athlete occupies multiple spaces simultaneously.
Yeah, they call it versatile athleisure aesthetics.
Right, meaning it functions on the basketball court, grinding out ranked matches in an esports arena, and as a standalone streetwear fashion statement at the mall. It's an identity you never actually have to take off.
And if you want your squad to stand out and look like champions, this is it. The promotional machine behind this is aggressive.
Very aggressive. The internal documents detail this highly coordinated digital attack to push the physical product.
We see Facebook ads optimized for conversion, specifically hyping up team package discounts. The phrasing is brilliant. They say, standard jerseys won't cut it anymore. Don't just compete, dominate in style.
They are leaning hard into peer pressure.
Totally. You can't be the only kid in the squad without the uniform. Don't play small. Grab your jersey now.
And the email campaigns follow the exact same psychological playbook. The initial blast announces the drop with the hook. Be among the first to wear the future.
Oh, triggering early adopter FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Exactly. And then the follow-up email introduces the scarcity principle. They offer a 15% discount code, DREAM15, but it expires in exactly 48 hours.
And the hook there is, why play like everyone else when you can stand out?
Which brings us to the ultimate feature designed to make you stand out. The literal bridge between the physical and the digital.
Yes. On the lower back of this jersey, right beneath that massive customized number, there is a dedicated integrated space for a custom QR code.
The smart QR integration. This is really the pivot point of the entire product.
It is. I think of it like an API for a human being.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Right, because in software, an API allows two different programs to talk to each other, to exchange data. Historically, clothing has always been a signifier. It tells people your class, your favorite band, your sports team.
Sure.
But it was always a closed loop. You look at the shirt, you get the information, and the transaction ends. But this QR code,
Yeah.
it turns the wearer into an open interface.
It completely changes the nature of the garment from a static display to a dynamic call to action. It demands engagement.
Yeah.
It says, don't just perceive my physical presence. Scan me, index me, enter my digital ecosystem. The marketing materials explicitly state this code is meant to link to a player profile, a team's social media, or a personal digital portfolio.
But look at the friction here. You are taking a teenager, wrapping them in a bright cyan and gold shirt that screams, "Look at me, I am a champion," printing a barcode on their spine, and sending them out into the physical world. You are actively inviting strangers, literally anyone with a smartphone camera, to bypass physical social interaction and instantly download that kid's digital life.
You are transforming physical proximity into digital access.
Right, and that makes me ask, what kind of digital world are we actually granting access to?
That is the million-dollar question.
If this QR code is the doorway, what does the room on the other side actually look like? Is it a glorious arena where everyone respects the champion, or is it a bloodbath?
When we flip over to the other side of this Smart Dream ecosystem, the educational YouTube channel, the picture they paint is pretty horrifying.
It really is.
To understand the severity of the environment the QR code points to, we have to look at the statistical foundation provided in this Smart Dreams, Smart Vision transcript.
Let's get into the numbers.
The lecture uses Malaysia as its primary case study. They pulled data from Data Reportal to establish the sheer scale of the digital landscape.
And the numbers are staggering. They cite 28.68 million active social media users in Malaysia. That equates to 83.1% of the entire population.
83%.
We aren't talking about a niche subculture of hardcore gamers here. We are talking about total societal saturation. Grandparents, parents, elementary school kids, everyone is plugged into the exact same matrix.
And the depth of that immersion is even more critical than the breadth, because the transcript reveals that the daily average screen time spent specifically surfing social media is 2 hours and 48 minutes per day.
Almost 3 hours a day, just on social media.
Think about the cognitive load of that.
Yeah, the sheer volume of information, imagery, micro-interactions, and algorithmic nudges a human brain has to process in 168 minutes of continuous scrolling.
It's immense. The speaker in the video uses this data to argue that the digital world is no longer an escape from routine. It has become the routine itself.
Which fundamentally alters the foundation of how young people develop, how they learn, and how they socialize.
Absolutely. So the Smart Dream educational channel actually starts by exploring the seemingly positive aspects of this saturation.
Right. They focus on the educational renaissance triggered by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Because when physical classrooms shuttered, that 83.1% saturation rate became the only lifeline for education.
The transcript outlines this rapid, forced adoption of two-way interaction tools. They list the pillars of this new infrastructure: Google Meet, Zoom, Google Classroom, and Microsoft Teams.
The argument presented is that these platforms actually broke down the traditional hierarchical walls of the classroom.
Yeah, they say teachers can give instantaneous direct feedback, and students who, might be too shy to raise their hand in a physical room can voice their questions or problems freely through chat functions.
But the evolution didn't stop at video conferencing. The lecture dives heavily into the gamification of learning, which is perhaps the most significant pedagogical shift of the 21st century.
Gamification. The transcript names specific heavyweights in this space: Quizizz, Kahoot, Duolingo, and Prodigy Math. The speaker explains that these applications take the mechanics of gaming, like the points, the countdown timers, the leaderboards, the leveling up, and they graph them onto subjects like math, language arts, and history to make them interactive.
And the mechanism behind why this works is crucial. EdTech companies didn't just invent these mechanics out of thin air. They borrowed them from the video game industry.
Who borrowed them from behavioral psychology.
Exactly. We are talking about operant conditioning and variable reward schedules. The human brain, particularly a developing brain, is wired to seek dopamine.
Right. And traditional textbook learning offers a very delayed reward. You study for 3 weeks to get a grade on a piece of paper.
Which is boring. It doesn't stimulate the reward centers at all.
No, not even a little.
But an app like Kahoot, you answer a question in 5 seconds, your screen flashes green, a cool sound effect plays, and your name jumps 3 spots up the digital leaderboard in front of your entire class.
Instant gratification.
It delivers an immediate, potent microdose of dopamine. The transcript notes that this makes learning easier for students to understand, but the reality is that it makes learning highly addictive. We've essentially Skinner-boxed the modern curriculum.
Wow. And the transcript argues this gamification drives two new modes of learning. First is what they call collaborative learning.
Right, where students are supposedly forming study groups, discussing ideas, and sharing resources across these platforms.
Which the video claims improves communication and critical thinking. And the second is self-directed learning. The walls of the school have basically been demolished. Students can access multimedia teaching materials, video, audio, animations, anywhere, at any time.
Teachers are literally becoming content creators.
Yeah.
The transcript notes they're actively using YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok to deliver knowledge. They're adapting to the multimedia formats the students are already addicted to.
The education system is desperately trying to meet the students where their attention already lives.
Because if they don't, they lose them entirely.
It's fascinating because I look at this educational setup and I see the exact same DNA as the Smart Dream jersey.
Oh, how so?
Well, the jersey promises peak physical and social performance, right? And the educational apps promise peak cognitive performance. The entire Smart Dream ecosystem is selling the idea that you can optimize a human being through digital integration.
It is a techno-utopian vision. It assumes that if we give children the right tools, the right gamified platforms, and the right customizable armor, they will just self-actualize into these hyper-efficient, collaborative, global citizens.
Exactly. But, and here's where it turns, the second half of that exact same YouTube transcript completely detonates that utopian vision.
It really does.
The speaker in the video pivots, almost abruptly, and delivers a line that acts as a bucket of ice water. They say, sad but true, but this thing really happens, and many children are experiencing depression now as a result of too much exposure to social media.
The pivot from self-directed learning to clinical depression is jarring, to say the least, but it reflects the reality of the data.
And the speaker adds this terrifying caveat. What is even more terrifying is that depression occurs without parents noticing the changes that are happening to their children.
Because the physical indicators of distress are completely hidden.
Yeah, a kid sitting quietly in their bedroom, staring at a phone, looks completely safe. But neurologically and emotionally, they are in a war zone.
Absolutely. The transcript goes into the specific environments causing this trauma, starting with online gaming.
And this is where the hypocrisy of the dominate the game marketing really crystallizes.
Big time.
The jersey is sold as a tool of empowerment, but the reality of the lobbies where these games are played is incredibly toxic.
The speaker explains that when kids log into these games, they are interacting with strangers. The transcript explicitly details the cyberbullying that occurs.
Yeah, they say kids are subjected to intense swearing, they are boycotted or ostracized by other players, and they are bombarded with degrading language.
Because the psychology of a gaming lobby is essentially a Lord of the Flies scenario, just stripped of physical consequences. When you remove physical proximity, you remove empathy. The phenomenon is known as the online disinhibition effect. People will say things to a digital avatar that they would never, ever say to a human face.
So you're telling me a kid puts on a $60 custom jersey that says Identity of a Champion, stands into a lobby with their QR code, and is instantly degraded and humiliated by a faceless stranger.
Yeah.
The psychological whiplash of that is profound. The armor promises invincibility, but the environment guarantees vulnerability.
And the transcript says it straight up. Instead of the happiness of online gaming, they are forced to face bullying that happens online, which directly impacts their mental health and leads to depression.
And the toxicity isn't even isolated to the chaotic lobbies of a battle royale game.
No, it's everywhere.
The transcript argues that the core algorithmic social media platforms, the very places that 83.1% of the population spends nearly 3 hours a day, are engines of psychological distress.
And the primary mechanism they identify for that is toxic social comparison.
The illusion of perfection.
Exactly.
The transcript provides painfully specific, real-world examples of what these kids are scrolling past every single day. The speaker talks about students seeing peers with fake rich families.
Yeah, they highlight kids who don't even have driver's licenses, posting photos of luxury cars their parents just gifted them.
Or students flaunting the newest iPhone models. Or hosting lavish birthday parties at 5-star hotels and inviting the entire school.
To understand why this is so damaging, we have to look at the evolutionary psychology of status.
Okay.
Human beings, like all primates,
Hmm.
are evolutionarily hardwired to constantly assess their social standing within a tribe. Historically, that tribe was maybe 150 people.
Oh, right, Dunbar's number.
Exactly. You only had to figure out where you stood among the people in your physical village. If you were the best hunter in your village, you felt a sense of high status, which released serotonin.
But social media breaks that evolutionary mechanism.
It completely shatters it. It expands the village to millions of people and algorithmically filters the feed, so you only ever see the absolute peak moments of the wealthiest, most attractive, most successful people on Earth.
It's like walking through the Louvre. Every single life you see on your feed is a curated, brilliantly lit, perfectly framed masterpiece.
It's a great analogy.
And you are comparing that grand oil painting to your own messy, unedited, behind-the-scenes reality. You feel like you're
Experience
standing in a gift shop
absolute
holding a plastic
performance.
keychain while everyone else is living in the Renaissance.
Unleash
And
your
the
vision.
cognitive dissonance between your reality and their curated fiction creates a massive deficit in self-worth.
Yeah.
The transcript explains the cascading behavioral effects of this. The children internalize this inadequacy and the attempt to solve a psychological problem with a material solution.
The material demands. The text explicitly links the feeling of inadequacy to teenagers demanding luxury items. You know, the newest iPhone, the designer clothes, just to bridge the status gap they feel when looking at their screens.
But the financial reality of most families cannot support those demands.
Of course not.
When parents inevitably say no or simply cannot fulfill the request, it breeds intense resentment.
The child feels misunderstood and structurally disadvantaged, and the parents feel unappreciated and financially stressed. The whole household environment fractures.
And the transcript concludes that all of this will contribute to the development of symptoms of depression.
And it isn't just an emotional breakdown either. The physical hardware of the child starts to fail.
The sleep disruption.
Yes. The transcript dives deeply into the biological consequences of screen addiction, specifically zeroing in on sleep deprivation.
Well, the biological impact of a glowing rectangle emitting blue light directly into the retinas cannot be overstated. Blue light literally suppresses the pineal gland's production of melatonin, which is the hormone responsible for regulating the circadian rhythm.
The speaker in the video says these kids are exposed to content that is exciting and addictive. They are caught in a dopamine loop. They stay up all night chasing the algorithm. One more TikTok, one more YouTube video, one more rank to match. They are actively fighting their own biological need for rest.
And the sleep deprivation leads to a massive degradation in cognitive function, emotional regulation, and memory consolidation.
And the transcript notes a secondary, perhaps even more damaging consequence: isolation.
Because they are spending all their waking and sleeping hours engaged with media, they lack face-to-face social interaction.
They atrophy their real-world social skills, their physical support system evaporates, leaving them entirely dependent on the very digital ecosystem that is causing their distress in the first place.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is. I look at the scope of this devastation, the cyberbullying, the status anxiety, the sleep deprivation, the depression, and I have to ask how the executives at Smart Dreams sleep at night. I mean, they are fully aware of this reality. They produced the 15-minute lecture detailing it. Yet they are actively manufacturing and aggressively marketing a physical jersey equipped with a QR code designed to funnel kids directly into this exact meat grinder. How do they justify selling the poison and the antidote in the same storefront?
They justify it through the lens of inevitability. Notice that the transcript never suggests turning the machines off.
That's true.
The brand stance, and the stance of the educational video, is that the digital matrix is permanent. Therefore, the only logical response is not retreat, but management.
Which brings us to the final act of the Smart Dream narrative, the mitigation strategy. Because the transcript doesn't just ring the alarm, it provides very specific, actionable framework for parents, teachers, and students to navigate these risks.
The burden of this framework, however, falls disproportionately on adults.
Right.
The speaker emphasizes that educating teenagers to use social media wisely is a monumentally difficult task, but it is an unavoidable mandate for parents.
The first line of defense they propose is device safety. The transcript insists that the hardware children use must be heavily monitored.
The speaker explicitly calls for the implementation of parental controls, stating that parents and teachers need the ability to track the movement and access of their children's device usage.
They are essentially demanding that parents become digital forensic analysts. To ensure safety, a parent must monitor the apps, track the screen time, review the chat logs, and understand the privacy settings of platforms that are constantly updating their terms of service.
It's a full-time job.
And the stakes for failing to do this aren't just a cranky, sleep-deprived kid. The transcript escalates the threat level significantly when discussing data privacy. The speaker delivers a blunt warning. Students must understand that they absolutely cannot share personal information on the internet.
The specificity of the warning is chilling, actually. They list home addresses, phone numbers, and any sensitive personal details.
And the justification they give for this extreme caution isn't cyberbullying or identity theft. The transcript states, on the record, that parental monitoring is vital because if children overshare on social media, the likelihood of them becoming victims of kidnapping is high.
Kidnapping.
Yeah, the transition from digital distress to acute physical danger is abrupt. It strips away any illusion that the digital and physical worlds are separate. A mistake made on a keyboard can result in a physical abduction.
But the transcript acknowledges that parents cannot maintain 24/7 surveillance. So they call upon institutions to act as the second line of defense. They discuss the role of schools in managing this crisis.
The speaker advocates for the creation of forced physical boundaries. They suggest schools establish strict no-phone zones, providing the example of teachers physically collecting students' smartphones the moment they cross the threshold into the classroom.
And the intervention required in boarding schools is even more extreme. The transcript suggests that for students living on campus, all cell phones must be surrendered to the warden before bedtime.
Look at the sheer, overwhelming power of this technology. We have engineered software so perfectly addictive and hardware so deeply integrated into the dopamine system that the basic human biological imperative to sleep has been overridden.
Yep.
It literally requires an external authority figure, a warden, to physically separate the human from the machine so the human can rest.
It's an incredible indictment of the technology.
It is. But I want to pause and reflect on that word, warden. We are applying these draconian physical barriers to children because we recognize their brains cannot withstand the algorithmic assault. But what about the rest of us?
The adults.
Right. The 83.1% of the population includes millions of adults. We don't have wardens. We have to rely on our own willpower. And the data suggests our willpower is losing badly.
We're swimming in the exact same toxic ecosystem, subject to the same variable reward schedules and social comparison engines, often with zero lifelines or boundaries in place. We mandate digital hygiene for children while gorging on digital junk food ourselves.
Okay, I have to point out the massive, glaring, unresolvable irony embedded in this entire source stack. Let's trace the logic here.
Okay.
The Smart Dream educational video looks parents in the eye and says, monitor your children. Teach them never to share their personal information online. Do not share your address, your location, or your details because the risk of physical kidnapping is high.
Right. That is the directive. Anonymity equals safety.
Now look at the Smart Dream product line. They are aggressively marketing a physical garment that features a customizable player name printed in massive letters across the shoulders.
Yeah.
And inches below that name, a literal QR code. A machine-readable portal that invites any stranger with a camera to scan the wearer's back and instantly access their digital profile, their affiliations, their history. How does this brand or this culture reconcile the demand for personal safety with the demand for personal branding?
They don't reconcile it. They force the user to live within the paradox. This is the defining friction of the modern digital citizen. The culture dictates that visibility is currency. If you want to dominate the game, if you want the identity of a champion, if you want to succeed in the creator economy, you must be visible. You must be hyper-indexed. You must have a link in bio, a public profile, a QR code on your back.
You have to offer yourself up to the algorithm.
Exactly. But the security reality dictates that visibility is vulnerability. To be known, to be scanned, to be indexed is to paint a target on your back for bullies, for scammers, and for predators. You were wearing a sign that says, "Scan me to find out who I am," while being handed a pamphlet that says, "Hide who you are so you survive."
So what is the source's ultimate conclusion? How does the Smart Dreams Smart Vision channel wrap up this terrifying reality check? Do they suggest burning the jerseys and throwing the phones in the ocean?
No. The conclusion is an exercise in stark pragmatism. The speaker acknowledges that social media, despite its inherent dangers, cannot be banned. The toothpaste is out of the tube. The technology is too deeply woven into the fabric of modern education, global communication, and the future of work.
Because they explicitly mention the benefits, right? The global connection, the ability to collaborate across borders, the unprecedented access to vast oceans of resources.
Therefore, the official stance is that the solution isn't prohibition, it's digital literacy. The transcript argues that society must establish clear guidelines, offer continuous training and support, actively encourage positive online behavior, and adopt incredibly strict privacy and security safeguards.
So it's risk mitigation. They want to maximize the potential of the tools while building guardrails around the abyss. They want to create an environment where the digital world is a valuable library of knowledge rather than a psychological minefield.
Which is a noble goal, but as the documents show, it requires an exhausting, constant